But we're gonna break down. And if you look at her hair texture, I don't know if that's a chemical or maybe she's one of these dark exoticals. I don't know, but her hair texture seems kind of like three C if that's her real hair. So I don't know, but we're gonna break this down. So let's get it.
Asexual or androgynous can rock it if you have big tits and are wearing low cut shirts or something to balance out the attract. If natural hair on a woman is being masculinized, then she definitely won't wear it out. But then at the same time, what men can't then do is say, I like natural. Women want to be found to be attractive by their male counterpart. And if their image is being politicized, their natural image is being politicized or associated with a fight or a struggle of some sort, then they're not gonna want to have that out. They want to feel pretty. But if dudes,
Okay, she said they want to feel pretty, but yeah, that's one thing you notice about their accent. Just like we might say community, they say community. So she's gonna be saying that a lot, but it's kind of funny. But that's that British accent. But her point with that particular opening clip is that somehow, because black women's natural features such as afros and so forth, you know, when they wear their hair in a natural style, then it's been politicized. But my question is, why does that have to be mutually exclusive? Why does the fact that it may be an associated sense of self pride or what she called politicizing, why is that mutually exclusive to her still being considered attractive? She says they like to feel pretty. Okay, well, why can't you feel pretty and be conscious at the same time? Why can't you feel like, okay, you're pretty and you're being who you really are, and you're also making a statement? Why does it have to be one or the other? Why did there has to be this kind of neutral, non self-preserving, non-self-aggrandizing, self-identified form of beauty? Why do you have to uh, break it into these different parts? Why can't it be all encompassing? So that's the thing they never get. That somehow two things can be true at the same time. You could be making a statement about how you are proud to be who you are while being beautiful. So that's the part that's really crazy that they think like that. But anyway, let's go.
not being honest about what they like and don't like, and they're saying I like natural, and then she goes natural, and you just don't like it. Now you want her to straighten it, then that's gaslighting. To be honest, I think we don't actually explore how a lot of men in the community feel as well, and the insecurities they have going on. Like, guys,
Yeah, and again, Chow Zulu, I kind of feel you on that. I don't. I prefer women with, like you said, spirals or coils or curls in their hair. And again, at that point, it really doesn't matter, right? I mean, whether it's 4C or 3C or whatever. And again, I'm not an expert on how these styles look. I'm just kind of going from memory what I remember 3C looks like. But I think that's more of the looser curl. So yeah, I don't mind that. Once I got a handful of it, I don't care if it's 4C or 3C, if you know what I mean, right? It's all the same at some point, right? As long as it's well kept. It doesn't have to be straight. Again, I don't prefer straight hair, and it doesn't have to be loosely curled. It can be tightly coiled as long as it's healthy and well managed. That's the part they miss. They just make it seem like the default setting of 4C always got to be knotty and peasy, and you got to freaking, if you comb it, you're going to see sparks. They think it has to be like that, when in reality, that's just hair that's not being kept. That's hair that's dry. It's not moisturized or conditioned right. And so, yeah, it's going to come out looking bad. But it doesn't have to. The default setting to 4C hair doesn't have to be nappy. It could be 4C and still be soft and still be well kept hair. But that's the part of the argument that they never want to deal with. But let's get it.
used to do the curly pan thing as well. Like, yeah, that's the thing.
I genuinely feel like you should embrace your natural hair when you're younger, but that's hard for me to say because I didn't really do that. So, but that's what I think you should do. I think getting your hair and stuff when you're in secondary school, it's just not worth it. You're young. But
yeah, but why do?
But again, Shadow, they don't have to force some of us who actually like it. but again, they've demonized 4C hair because they're the ones that break their necks to cover it up every 5 minutes. They call it a quote protective style, but what the hell are they protecting? They're just trying to protect their reputation because they don't want to be seen with their own freaking hair growing out of their head. So they throw a wig on top of it, meanwhile killing the hair. And whenever they do take the weave out, it looks like when freaking Darth Vader took his helmet off. It just the scab in I mean, it looks horrible because they're not letting their scalp get nutrients from the sun, vitamin D. They're not letting it get air. It's crazy. There's been all kind of horror stories about fungus and all types of stuff, even insects coming out of their head. It's disgusting. But they do all of that in an effort to cover up their natural hair, and then they wonder why it's breaking off and they've got bald spots everywhere and that the hair is brittle and dry because they're not taking care of it. Meanwhile, if a woman's taking care of their hair, got it properly kept, then it looks very good. And I'm going to show some examples of that a little bit later. But let's get it.
You practice what you preach.
As I just said.
No, I mean now. Practice it now.
Now.
This is an opportunity.
I don't want that opportunity.
Liar. Look, let's be real. Benzo, tell me if I'm lying.
Mm-hmm.
There's thousands of people watching right now.
Mm-hmm.
As men, black men, we love our women natural, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen.
And see, there's another guy who said it right there. But watch what this young lady says in response to this man saying what he liked.
Okay. For those of you that are black men, is that true?
Yes, it is. If you're asking a legitimate question without your own preconceived notions, then the answer is yes. A lot of men like natural hair, and we don't care as much as you guys do in terms of the texture. Like Shadow Zulu said, I'm going to put his comment back on the board. Where's his comment at about the... Yeah, here we go. Like Shadow Zulu said, as long as the hair is black and spirals, I like it. So that's his range of preference. He just likes spirally hair. Now, some guys might have a certain range. They may not like 4C. I don't know what's after 4C, maybe 4B or whatever. I don't know. But some guys might go from 4B to 3C or whatever. Some guys might not like 4B for whatever reason. Maybe it's because their mama taught him not to like it, right? But whatever his reasoning is, he might prefer, maybe a looser curl. But at the same time, he has a preference that's within a certain range. But they like to ignore the guys who do like where they be from the 4B to the 3Cs or whatever. And just because he likes the 3Cs, then they'll exclude the fact that he likes the 4Bs also. So that's the thing that's so crazy. Well, let's get what she has to say.
Is it true? Is it true? I love being natural. I do my natural thing because I like my naturalness. We've talked about this before, but is it true that black men like natural? I've had this debate so many times with my black male friends. Come on, man. Come on. I think there are some, maybe, but for the most part, I'm not sure I agree. Especially with every time I hear guys say that on some of these interviews or podcasts, they'll be like, "Oh, I love natural."
You mean like this podcast, or like as we like to say, Squadcast? Well, let's go.
I love natural, and then you see the girl, and it's the lace front with like a bag of makeup. So I'm like, "Well, you don't? No, you don't."
See, isn't that the point I just made earlier? You see the faulty logic right there. So because a guy says he prefers or he likes natural hair, and she just happens to see him with a woman wearing a lace front, then that automatically eliminates what his preference is. Even though, like I said earlier, that's what 90% of the market is presenting. See, we can look past that because if this guy is with a woman who's wearing a lace front, which personally I don't like that shit, but if a guy is willing to compromise that because he happens to like the woman, because unlike them, we don't think that a woman is totally the essence of who she is contained within the parameters of her hair. And because she may be a good person, at least for that particular guy, and he likes other aspects of her, and she might be hitting all his other points, he'll overlook that. He said, okay, well, I like the way she cooks. I like the way she looks. I like her body, but I can't stand that freaking lace front. But I'm gonna overlook it because that's what she likes. And you know how conciliatory a lot of black men are, especially in the West, and they do tend to be very laid back in terms of their women. I think they need to be more assertive. That's just me, and that part of the reason why the situation is as bad as it is because a lot of these Negroes just let things get out of hand. But anyway, maybe that's why I'm not there anymore, but whatever. But the point is, a man will say, okay, look, I like all of these different things about her. So even though I would prefer that she's wearing her natural hair, you know, I will give that a pass. She's wearing a wig, she's wearing a lace front, but I like everything else, so I'll deal with it. But in her mind, oh, well, just because you say you like some natural, but I see you with a woman with a lace front, so therefore it's capped. No. The problem is that 90% of the freaking market, and if that man wants a woman, he gonna have to compromise. Because unlike them, we understand that there's only a limited number of people that are gonna fall within your spectrum of things you like. So you're gonna have to compromise some things. And most men are gonna have to compromise on the natural hair thing because 90% of the women aren't wearing their natural hair. And I guarantee you, if the market changed and there was 50% of those women who are wearing wigs just went cold turkey and stopped, then you would still see men gravitating towards them. But they're too scared to do that because they have their wig addiction. But let's go.
It's fine. Just say I don't like the natural thing. I just think be honest. Every time we have these conversations, I'm like, can we just have an honest conversation, please? Can we just be honest? Because the moment someone's honest, there's nothing anyone can say after that.
Indeed, that started a long time ago. And unfortunately, they think that it's always been like that. But, that's the reason why things are screwed up. But let's go.
You've been honest. Nah, I don't like the natural thing. I like when my girls are like wearing like the lace fronts and like when they're wearing loads of makeup. That's what I like.
I've never in my life heard a man say that. See, she's conflating the fact that she might see men with that, which again underscores my point. The reason why you're going to see a lot of men with that is because that's what's available. Because most of you women are coming out the house looking like that. So if he's going to get him a woman, he's going to have to get one that got makeup and a freaking wig on. Because that's what the market is saturated with. But that's not his preference, though. That's the part that they don't understand. Shadow says, wig addiction. What's he got wig addiction equals wig addiction. Yeah, exactly.
Just say that. But it's coming like people are saying they like the natural thing just because it sounds nice. People vote with their feet. Come on.
Here's another term she's going to be using a lot. Voting with your feet. Now, that would suggest that there's somehow an equal distribution, like it's a democracy, right? Because in a democracy, that's where votes count. Well, the dating market with regard to black women's hairstyles is not a freaking democracy. It is a dictatorship. It is a very because like someone said before, they're like social communists. This is an outright fascist dictatorship where they are only giving you one style. All right. Maybe every once in a while they'll slip a natural style in there, but it's not a democracy. There is no vote. They're not voting with their feet. They're getting what's available to them. See, that's the flaw in this point that she's trying to make. She's trying to say that men are voting with their feet because she only sees men with wigs, but little does she know that that's the only thing that's mostly on the market. You only can vote, at least fairly, if there's free and uncorrupted elections. But this is a tyrannical dictatorship in terms of these wigs. In fact, that's their crown. It's a monarchy or a queendom, and their corrupted crown is that wig, at least in the West. For the men who have the unfortunate or the misfortune to still be there having to deal with that. That's what that is. So there's no voting with their feet because they're in a wigopoly. I just created a new word, Shadow Zulu, a wigopoly. So let's go.
It's extremely sensitive. It's a very, very sensitive subject in terms of being natural and not having hair at all. Those two subjects, ooh, a lot of it feeds into like texturism and stuff like that, but it's a very, very sensitive topic. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to hair, it really is about what women think men find attractive in this community. And men vote with their feet.
Well, in this community, in her case, she's talking about over in Britain, but you know, similar. You know, obviously, you know, a lot of these discussions were centered in America. Look, the reason why they think like this is from their own projection, because every single time a man is saying that he likes natural hair, it's dismissed. They're claiming that it's capped. They're claiming that he's just saying it because it sounds good. No, that's actually what he likes, but he only has what's available to him because it's only based on what the market is saturated with. But let's go.
So I know a lot of guys that are like, yeah, I like natural, and I see what they're with, and it's
Charles Zulu says wigopoly and wig addiction is taking over. Yeah, it didn't already took over, unfortunately.
It's not that. So women are preying that, they're seeing that, and they're like, listen, man, I want a man, and I'm trying to get what I want. So even though they're saying one thing, I like natural, they don't mean it. So let me do the other thing because that's what gets the guy.
Now, but you see how that what she said is like it's like a chicken or the egg concept, right? Which came first? Because she's claiming that a lot of these women, they like wigs and weaves, so I'm gonna get that because that's what they like. Well, you know what's so ironic is that women are more single nowadays than they ever were in the past when women were less wigs and weaves. Well, she wasn't ready for that. So if she sees this video, you know, I don't think she was ready for that one. But let me repeat it: her and women like her who make this claim that they're going to get these wigs and weaves because that's what the men like. Meanwhile, their foremothers were more married than they are, and they didn't wear half the wigs and the weaves. So how do you explain that? See, it's this circular argument. It's like I said before, they've saturated the market, and that's what the men are choosing because that's what's available to them. But they're thinking that the men are choosing it because that's what they want. Meanwhile, they're the ones that have infested the market with with these wigs and weaves, and it becomes a self-prophecy because they're in their mind, they're thinking that's what the men want, and that's what they keep throwing out there. Meanwhile, the men don't actually want that, but they're just taking what they can get. For the ones who, you know, the guys in the West who still want to deal with all this BS, but that's the problem. And meanwhile, to my point, I'll make it again. If what they're saying is true, and somehow black men in particular, it's just so impossible for you guys to be attracted to a woman with natural hair, foresee it that, how do they explain the fact that in decades past, when women were rocking the afros, wearing the natural hairstyles, they were getting married more than with all these goddamn weaves everywhere? How do they explain that? Well, let's